Welcome to the first episode of Doing Business As, the small business law podcast from Tracktown Law. I'm Jared Height, attorney and founder of Tracktown Law, a virtual law firm based in Eugene, Oregon. I help business owners across Oregon and Idaho build legally sound companies, make smarter decisions, and avoid the kind of preventable messes that cost more to clean up than they ever would have cost to prevent. If you've listened to Passing the Baton, our twice-weekly estate planning podcast, you already know what you're in for. Straight talk, no gimmicks, and no 10-minute backstory about my morning coffee. Doing Business As is the business side companion to that series. Same voice, different set of legal headaches. Before launching this firm, I spent nearly a decade as general counsel for a company I helped take from scrappy startup to a 10-figure exit. I was there from the early scramble to the end, and I've seen what works, what fails, and what keeps founders up at night. I've dealt with partners splitting up, regulators closing in, contracts unraveling, and owners trying to clean up 5 years of DIY decisions with a Sharpie and good intentions. If there's a way to screw up a business's legal foundation, I've probably seen it or helped fix it, usually both. This podcast exists so you don't have to learn those lessons the hard way. It's for people building real businesses, LLCs, partnerships, family operations, and even side hustles that suddenly got traction and now need actual structure. I'm not here to tell you how to 10x your mindset or manifest success. I'm here to explain how to keep your business from eating your house. And with that, our first topic. What is a business entity and why does it matter? Let's start with this. If you're getting paid for a service, selling a product, or otherwise earning revenue outside of a W-2, you're already a business owner in the eyes of the law. You don't have to register anything or even think of yourself that way. You just already are. And unless you've formed something formally, you're probably operating as a sole proprietorship by default. A sole prop is the legal equivalent of, it's fine, I've got it, until it's very much not fine. There's no paperwork required, no registration, no separate identity, which also means there's no liability protection, no structure, and no clarity. In a sole proprietorship, you and your business are the same person. There's no legal distinction between your side hustle and your savings account. So if something goes wrong, a client sues, a vendor claims breach, someone trips over your equipment, you're personally liable. Your business risk becomes personal risk, and the bigger your operation gets, the riskier that situation becomes. Now contrast that with a limited liability company, an LLC, or a corporation. These are what we mean when we talk about business entities. They're legally distinct persons created under state law. They can own property, sign contracts, sue and be sued, and incur liability without making you personally responsible for everything that goes wrong. That's the promise, limited liability. But here's the part that gets overlooked. That promise isn't automatic. Filing your articles of organization with the state is only the beginning. If you don't open a separate bank account, if you're signing contracts in your personal name, if you're using Venmo and calling it a bookkeeping system, you're inviting a court to treat your entity like a fig leaf. And courts are surprisingly good at seeing through fig leaves. It's called piercing the corporate veil, and it means the court sets aside your LLC or corporation and holds you personally liable because you didn't maintain legal separation. It's not just a risk for giant companies with armies of lawyers, it happens to real people, contractors, consultants, small firms, because they didn't keep things clean. And yes, I've seen people ignore this advice. I've also seen what it cost them. So why form an entity at all? Because done right, it creates a protective boundary between your personal life and your business activities. It gives your business credibility when dealing with banks, vendors, clients, and potential partners. It lets you share ownership in a way that's actually enforceable. It positions you for growth, succession, or sale. And it makes you think differently about what you're building. The moment you form an LLC or corporation, you've committed to treating your business like a real thing, not a hobby, not a phase, something you're responsible for, and that's responsible in return. Now let's be clear. Not every business needs to form an LLC on day one. If you're testing the waters, fine. But if your business has real income, regular clients, or any kind of public footprint, it's time to move beyond the default. Choosing the right entity, LLC, S-Corp, partnership, whatever, is the next step. But for most small business owners in Oregon and Idaho, the LLC is a flexible, familiar, and relatively simple option. We'll break it down more in a future episode, including when and how to elect S-Corp tax status and what kind of operating agreement you actually need. This show is going to stay focused on the legal structure, decisions, and problems that matter to you. Formation, compliance, taxes, partnerships, disputes, exits, succession, we'll hit all of it. And we'll do it without buzzwords, filler, or pretending it's more complicated than it really is. Speaking of complicated, if you're unsure whether your current setup is doing what it's supposed to, or if you're just starting out and want to avoid the usual rookie mistakes, you can book a free consultation at tracktownlaw.com. Business services are billed hourly, and I'll give you a clear sense of what's working, what's missing, and what's worth fixing now before it costs more later. Every episode also has a companion blog post over at tracktownlaw.com. So if you'd rather read than listen, or you want to send this to your co-owner, your CPA, or that friend who just formed an LLC in 5 minutes with a company called Rocket Bear, the full write-up is there, with direct links to schedule or learn more. And since this is Tracktown Law, I also want to remind you that business protection doesn't stop at the entity level. I also offer flat fee estate planning services for Oregon and Idaho residents. If you own a business, chances are you've got something worth passing on, whether it's to a spouse, kids, a co-owner, or your community. That's where estate planning comes in. My other podcast, Passing the Baton, covers that side of things. Same tone, same honesty, more death, less QuickBooks. Next time we're going to dive deeper into the sole proprietorship, the most common business structure and often the most dangerous. We'll talk about when it makes sense to operate that way, what protections you lose by staying informal, and what to do if you're ready to graduate to something more stable. Thanks for listening.